Okay, so for revision, we're going to look at the different types of errors. So errors come from when we verify our accounts. So remember, there's three ways of verifying accounts. We can do a trial balance, and that's what we're mainly going to look at today. That's when we have a list of all our debits and all our credits before we do our financial statements and the should balance. Then we also have control accounts. And the one you need to know, the two that you need to know for ALVO are the sales ledger control accounts and the purchase ledger control accounts. They're just like the master customer accounts and the master supplier accounts, where you combine them all together. And again, there could be errors in there. And then you also have bank reconciliation statements. That's when you compare your cash book and your bank statement and you make sure there's no errors, there's no missing stuff. So like I said, the one we're going to look at today is the trial balance. So you get all your accounts, you get the totals, you list them in the trial balance. If they balance, that's a good thing. However, there still could be errors. If they don't balance, that means there definitely is errors. So if they don't balance, there's 5 main types of errors that we can spot. Error of transposition, error of addition, error of partial omission, error of posting, and error of unequal posting. So we call those the PAPUT errors. Yeah, that's not a proper term, that's just a term I made up for you. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go through each 5 with an example. I want to show you how you would do the general journal, and I'm going to hopefully show you that these 5 are the ones that need a suspense account. So let's look at transposition. So transposition is just when one of the sides, the numbers have been rearranged, have been switched. Yeah, so they're in the right place, just the numbers have been switched. So for example, Joe Blogs sells goods for £58 in cash, but records it in the cash book as £85. So we would draw our T account of how they look. So we have the sales account and we have our cash book. Well, sales is a credit. So it currently looks like £58 on the sales, but the cash book, he puts it as 85. Then we look at how it should look. So it should be 58 on sales and 58 in cash book. So this side is right. We don't need to do anything with this side. But this side, to get from 85 to 58, we need to reduce it. So I can't put a minus on this side. We can't put negative numbers inside an account. Instead, we put an entry on the other side. So to get rid of 85 to 58, we take away 27. So I'm going to put 27 on that side. Yeah, I don't need to do anything to this account. I just need to put 27 on that side. So my red is what I'm doing to fix it. So my general journal, I've got my debit and my credit column. Now, my credit was the cash book. I don't know if it's bank or cash. I'm just going to call cash book. That's 27. Now, debit, well, there's no other account. So that's when we use the suspense account. Yeah, and then in real life, you write a little narrative saying correction of error of transposition, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so that's the first one, transposition. Next one, addition. So that's just when they're incorrectly added up in the ledger. So remember the 3 ledgers, the sales, the purchases, and the general. Sales is the customer's accounts, purchases the supplier's accounts, general all the other accounts. So for example, Joe Blogs has calculated 50 add 10 equals 150 instead of 60. So let's say that I haven't given the account on that one. So let's say that is the purchase account. So in the purchase account, when he's totaled it at the end of the month, instead of adding the 50 and the 10 and put 60, he's put 150. Now I know I've switched my colours up here, it's going to annoy me. So 150 is what he's done. What he should have put 60 in it, and it's on the debit side because I've just chose purchase for this one. I could choose any account. So to fix it, I need to reduce it from 150 to 60. So I need to put 90 on this side. So my general journal would look like, well, I needed to debit the purchases by 90. Therefore, I credit this the suspense by 90. Yeah, because there's no other account that's affected. It was just a mistake on one of the accounts. I'll try and stick to the proper colours this time. Partial omission is pretty much what it sounds like. So it's when one side of the transaction has not been recorded in the accounts. One has been done correctly, one hasn't been recorded at all. So it's partially been missed out, and omission just means missed out. So Joe Bloggs has made cash sales of £80 and debited the cash book, but has not made any credit entry in the sales account. So this is what it looks like. Cash book, there's £80 gone in. In the sales, there's no sales. Now how it should look? Well, I should have 80 going in the cash book, and I should have 80 in the sales. So this one is done correct. But to fix this one, to get the 80 there, I need to put 80 in the sales side. So my general ledger, my credit is the sales. So therefore, my debit must be the suspense. Now, so far, it looks like suspense is always on the debit side, but that's just a coincidence. Suspense can be on either side. Hopefully, I'll have got one that's going to show you that. Posting, so that's when one side of the transaction is posted to the wrong side of an account. And posting actually can be generalized a bit more. Posting can just be when it's posted to the wrong place. So Joe Bloggs has made the cash sale of £80 and debited the cash book, but has also debited the sales account. So this is what it looks like. So cash book, sales, debited by 80, debited by 80. How it should look, well, we know from the last one, 80 and 80. Well, to get the 80 on this side, well, because this side is done right, to get the 80 on this side, I first of all need to cancel the 80 out and then put an 80 in. So altogether, I need to put 160 on that side. So my general ledger, again, is on the credit side, which is annoying. I need to credit the sales by 160. So the suspense is also 160. And the last one, unequal posting. This is just a more generalized version of transposition. So the two sides of a transaction are unequal. So for example, Joe Bloggs has made cash sales of £80 and debited the cash book by 80 and credited the sales by 86. So this is how it looks. So cash book debited by 80, sales 86, but how it should look, it should be 80 and 80. Yeah, they're unequal. So this side's been done right. This side, I want to get from 86 to 80, so I need a -6. Remember, I can't put negatives, so I'm going to put the 6 on that side. And finally, I've got one on the debit side. So to fix it, I would debit the sales by 6 and credit the suspense by 6. So look here, the suspense is finally on the credit side. Yeah, so they're the 5 errors that involve a suspense account. If you identify an error, because the trial balance doesn't balance, then that means you need a suspense account to fix it. The suspense account is going to have that balance in it. Okay, then the 6 that don't show up though, these are the Crawpock errors. So commission, reversal, omission, principal, original entry, and compensating errors. So again, let's look one of them at a time. So commission is when the correct amount is entered on the correct side of an incorrect account of the correct class. Now that sounds really confusing, but it just means that you've done everything right, apart from you put in the wrong account, but the account could have been right. So you put it in a customer's account, just the wrong customer's account. You've put it in a supplier's account, just the wrong supplier's account. You've put it in a loan account, just the wrong loan account. Those kind of things. So here's an example. So £600 rent was paid by cheque, and the rates account was debited with £600. This will not be revealed by the trial balance. Now, that's because the £600 rent, that is an expense, and rate is also an expense. So it should have went in the rent account, but it put it in the rates account, so it won't show if it's the right number, the right type of account. They're both debits, so the trial balance would still balance. So to fix it, you would have rent and rate, and if it doesn't say anything about the other side, you can assume the other side was incorrect. So we have £600, it was put in rate and it's a debit as an expense, but that £600 should have been put in rent. So to fix it, well, I'm going to get rid of the £600 from rate and put it into rent. So my general journal, I'm going to debit the rent with the £600 I needed and credit the rate to get rid of the £600 I put in there. So look, I didn't need a suspense account. I can get rid of the errors just by moving it from one account to the other account. Okay, next one. Talked about that already. Reversal. This is when the correct figures are used, the correct accounts are used, but that's on the wrong side. So instead of being on the debit side, it's on the credit side, and vice versa. So the sides has been switched. So for an example, £70 of goods were purchased from P. Smith, and P. Smith's account was debited with £70 and purchases was credited with £70. So we know that purchases is debit. This is how it looks. Purchases and P. Smith. So it says we debited P. Smith with 70 and credited purchases. Now that won't show up on the trial balance because they kind of cancel out. But what it should look like, we should have 70 here, 70 here. P. Smith's the supplier, so it's a liability, so credit. Purchases an expense, so debit. So to fix it, I need put 70 there to cancel it out, then an extra 70, so I need 140. The same here, 70 to cancel it out, plus the 70, so I need 140. So my debit and my credit. My debit is purchases, 140, and my credit is P. Smith worth 140. The next one. Omission occurs, so this error of omission. Omission occurs when a transaction is completely missed out in the ledger accounts. So there's no debit or credit entries. So this normally happens if an invoice gets lost or a receipt gets lost, but it's never entered into a book of prime entry. If it's not in a book of prime entry, it won't go in the ledger accounts. So a purchase invoice will be lost or destroyed. There'll be no entry in the purchase ledger, and therefore the purchase account in the nominal ledger, that's just another word for general, would have no entry, and neither would the trade payables. So let's give that a number. So let's say a purchase invoice of £50, and let's say our supplier is called Susie. Susie the supplier. So we have our purchases and Susie, who's our supplier, our trade payable, and we bought something off Susie for £50 on credit, but the invoice has been lost, so nothing's been put in these accounts for that transaction. But how it should look is I should have 50 for purchases, debit, and 50 for Susie on the credit. So to fix it, well, this one's an easy one. I put 50 on the debit side of purchases and 50 on the credit side of Susie's. So omission, to fix it, I just actually put it in. I do what I should have done. So my debit and my credit, debit purchases with 50 and credit Susie with 50. And this doesn't show up because if it's been missed out, it still balances. The same amount has been missed out from the debit and the credit. Principle, this is I guess this is the most dangerous one. This affects your income and your net assets. So principal is very similar to commission. So everything's been done right. That's the right side. However, it's the wrong account of the wrong class of account or the wrong type of account. So instead of an expense, you put it in asset. So the biggest example of that is vehicle expenses and vehicles. So if you paid £100 for fuel costs and you put it in actual vehicles account, run the vehicle expenses, that's going to have a big impact on the value of your vehicle and the value of your expenses, which impacts your profit, isn't it? So a new motor vehicle was purchased on credit and was entered into the motor expenses account by mistake. This will not be revealed by the trial balance. So let's use the example of we bought a vehicle for £1,000 on credit. It was entered in the supplies account perfectly. However, instead of me putting it in the vehicles account, I put it in the vehicle expenses account. So let's look at how it works. So I've got vehicles, and I have vehicle expenses. So I bought a vehicle for £1,000. It's an asset, so it should go on the debit side, but I've treated it as a vehicle expense. It still goes on the debit side. I put £1,000 there. But what I should have done is I should have put £1,000 here. So to fix it, I need to get rid of £1,000 on that side, then put £1,000 on that side. So my debit, my credit, or my debit goes in the vehicles. That's what it should have been, and my credit is the vehicle expenses. Now, most of the time for a principal, it's always this kind of scenario of vehicles and vehicle expenses. But there's nothing stopping it being something else, for example. So instead of income, you could put it in a liability account, etc. Original entry. This is just when you've recorded it as the wrong number. So you've got an invoice that says £50, but when you've written it in your books of prime entry into your journals, you put £60, something silly like that. So credit sale for 176 was entered into the sales journal as 167. Then a debit entry of 167 goes in the customer's account, and 167 goes in the credit account. In the sales account. So sales, let's call it customer carry the customer. So we have carry's account, she's a customer asset, she's been debited with 167, and sales has also been credited with 167. So it's been the wrong number has been put in both accounts, so it'll still balance. However, it should have been 176 and 176 here. So to fix it, well, this account needs £9 more in it, and this account also needs £9 more in it. So my debit and my credit, well, my debit is sales for 9, and my credit is carry for 9 as well. Yeah, you can always spot these ones, because these numbers are always a multiple of 10. If you're a mathematician, you might want to think why. And last one, compensating. This is when you have a mixture of errors. So it could be any of the previous 10 we talked about. However, when you put them all together, they cancel out. Yeah, so they cancel out, so therefore it doesn't show up in a trial balance. So the sales count is incorrectly overcast by £100. And by complete coincidence, the rates account was overcast by £52 and the purchases by £48. So let's have a look at what all these accounts look like. So we have, what was the first one? Sales. It's overcast by 100. So I'm just going to write that as X plus 100. Then we've had rates, which is a debit. That's been overcast by 52. And we have purchases, which again is a debit, and that's been overcast by 48. You can see that these two debits have been overcast by 100 in total. This credit's been overcast by 100. So they're going to cancel out. Well, to fix it, I need an X there, X there, and X there. So I'm going to get rid of that 100 by putting 100 on the side. get rid of the 52 by 52 on that side, get rid of the 48 by 40 on that side. So this time I'm going to have 3 entries in my general journal. Debit comes first, so sales for 100, then we have rates as a credit 52, and purchases as a credit for 48. Yeah, and remember, it should always balance. So a general journal entry, you should always sort of rule it off and because it's balanced. Okay, so there's all the different types of errors. So hopefully you can see why we don't do suspense account. Those last ones. I'm just going to do one exam style question with you if you need some help. If not, if you want to jump straight into exam questions, go straight for them. So we're going to do a suspense account and a general journal for each of these. So I'm going to draw my suspense account so it's ready. So £60 of goods purchased on credit from Toby has been debited to Toby's account and credited to purchase account. So it looks like purchase Toby is being debited to Toby's and credited to purchases. So it's been the wrong way around. So you know how to fix this now. So it should have 60 and 60. So to fix it, I need 120 there and 120 there. So my general journal, I would say debit purchases 120, credit Toby 120. So no suspense needed for that. Actually, let's general journal here, debit, credit. So it would be purchases 120 and Toby 120. Then what you do, you would rule that off and then do your next one. But since I've got space in this whiteboard, I'm just going to rub it off, ready for the next one. So second one, rent payment of 460 has been credited to the cash book as 640 and debited to the rent as 640. So the wrong amount's been put in both. So this is original entry. So we have rent, which has been debited as 640, and the cash book has been credited as 640, but it should have been 460. It's put on the right side because it's an expense and it's going out of my cash book. So that means that's 180 difference. So I need to reduce this by 180 and reduce this by 180. So again, since it's the same number, I don't need the suspense account. So my debit is cash book and my credit's rent. Okay, next one. Sales of £67 to Danny, but posted to the debit of Danielle's account. So since it's only mentioned one side, you can assume the other side was correct. So sales side was correct. However, the debit side has been put into Danielle at 67 because Danielle will be a customer, so it's an asset. However, it should have been put on Danny's side. So to fix it, we're going to take the 67 from there and put the 67 there. So again, no suspense needed. So we're going to debit Danny 67 and credit Danielle 67. So that's an error of commission because they're both customers. Suspense account is coming soon. A copy sales invoice for £89 showing credit sales to Kel has been lost. It has not been entered in the sales journal. So it's been lost, so therefore it hasn't been entered into our accounts. So it should have, looks like, well, if it's sales invoices, sales. And we would also have Patel's customer. There's been nothing put in them, but we should have had 89 credit sales and 89 debit Patel because he's a customer. So to fix it, we're going to do just that, 89, 89. So Patel gets debited 89, sales and credit gets credited 89. Okay. 4,800 paid to garage for service charges and fuel was debited to the vehicles account. So we have vehicles, 4,800. However, service charge and fuel, that should be vehicles expenses. So we should have had 48,000 there. So to fix it, 48,000, 48,000, debit vehicle expenses, and credit vehicles. And now this isn't commission because that's an asset, that's an expense, so it's principal. Okay, 6. Hopefully this is when we're going to need the suspense account. So discount received column in the cash book totals £72. However, this has been debited to the discount allowed as 27. Discount allowed has been debited as 27, but it should have been a discount received as 72. Discount received is in income, so that should go on the credit side. So it should be blue. That's what it should look like. Okay, well, to fix that, we're going to have to get rid of the 27 there, and then we're going to have to put in the £72 there. And can you see there's been no debit entry, so we definitely need a suspense account this time. So suspense is going to be the debit. We have the discount allowed, which is credited 27, discount received, credited 72, suspense has to equal that, so that's 99. Okay, so in our suspense account, we're going to debit it. Now, I don't know if you can remember this, but my advice was leave that first row blank because we need to put our, essentially what's a balance BD, but we don't call it that. We call it the trial balance difference. So we're going to leave the first row blank and we're going to put on the debit side £99. Actually, I'm going to split them £99 up because they're coming from two different places. So I'm going to divide it as 27 and 72. 27 came from discount allowed and 72 came from discount received. Yeah, and that could be an error of posting. 7, the debit side of Gloria's account in the purchase ledger has been overcast by 1,000. Actually, let's draw this as we go along. So we have Gloria. She's in a purchase ledger, so she's a supplier. So it's on this side. It's been overcast by 1,000, so X plus 1,000. The credit side, debit side, Gloria's account in the purchase ledger. Okay, I think that's a mistake there. I think, well, let's put on the debit side. What does it mean? Sorry, so that Gloria's account debit side, it just means that they've said that she's paid more than she actually has. So they said that she paid £1,000 more than she has. The credit side of sales has been overcast by 100, and the rent has been undercast by 900. So rent's a debit, so X minus 900. But it should look like there, there, and there. So to fix it, I need to get rid of the 1,000, get rid of the 100, but here it's under by 900, so I need to put the 900 in. So can you see it's balanced, so therefore to compensate an error. So my debits are sales 100, rent 900, and Gloria 1,000. So didn't need the suspense account for that one. And last one, the total rent received for the 7,500 has been posted to the debit side of the rent payable account as 5,700. But it's rent received. So rent received is an income, so it should have been posted on the credit side and as a different number, 7,500. So to fix it, we're going to have to put 5,700 on that side to get rid of it, and put 7,500 on that side to put it in. So we're going to credit the rent payable, so that's the expense, 5,700. We want to credit the rent received, which is my income, by 7,500. So the suspense is my debit, which is, what's that, 13,200. So that means I'm going to debit the suspense account with 13,200, but I'm going to just list it as two separate entries, just so we can see exactly where that money comes from. 5,700 from the rent payable, 7,500 from rent receivable. You would write out all the words, you wouldn't do the abbreviations like me. I'm just trying to speed it up because I feel like I've been talking forever. So that's all the different errors fixed. Now, it's a shame I didn't put any on this side. So let's pretend we had another error of £100, which had to be fixed on this side. So let's say it was sales. Don't really care what it was, £100. So what you would do now is you do your normal thing of total on both sides. I'm trying to balance it. So this side is going to have a bigger one. So add that up. Actually, I don't need a calculator for that. That will give us 13,299. So this side must have the same. However, this side is nowhere near that. So the difference, I'm going to put at the top. So 13,199. But I'm not going to call it balance BD. I'm going to call it trial balance difference. Yeah, because the trial balance difference, that means the difference between the debits and the credit side, the totals, and it can either go on this side if the debit total is bigger, or this side if the credit total is bigger. So the easiest way to do it is put your errors in, leaving the first row blank, total them up, and then put the difference back in the top.